We're a little over a month away before the release of the upcoming live action Snow White movie starring Rachel Zegler, and we're starting to get the early numbers in for what they think the opening weekend will make. And if these projections are accurate, it's devastating news for Disney because of how much they actually spent on this movie. This article from Deadline right here isn't really passing judgment one way or the other, but since this movie cost around, or at least it's been reported to cost around $400 million to produce, what they're expected to make during their opening weekend is nowhere close to what they need to make if they want to actually be profitable with this. But I will get more on that in a moment too. But first, let's look at what they're saying in this Deadline article. So the headline: Snow White hits long lead tracking. Will live action take of Disney classic Whistle a Happy Tune? Box office forecast. And no, the answer is no, if it actually is anywhere close to what they're doing. This is something that probably needs to make over $1 billion at the global box office in order to just break even. So to hit $1 billion, they probably need to have a good couple hundred, maybe $300 million global opening during its opening weekend. And it doesn't look like it's going to actually hit that. So Disney's long-awaited live-action reboot of its 1937 animated classic Snow White doesn't open until March 21st. However, box office forecasts are out on the Rachel Zegler Gal Gadot starring movie. Quorum reports a 3-day start for the Mark Webb-directed movie of $63 to $70 million, while other sources believe $65 million at this point in time is fair. Now, like I said, this probably needs to make $200-300 million during its opening weekend in order to just hope that they could break even at the global box office when it's all said and done. Right now, they're saying $65 million, and I don't believe this is globally. I do believe that this is just domestically, but still, that's nowhere close to what they need to make. So if it is around this line, I mean, this is just horrible news for Disney, but I can't say I'm really surprised by this. I wasn't sure what we were going to get during its opening weekend, but this is not what they need. As a comparison, the 2014 Angelina Jolie Sleeping Beauty live action spinoff opened to $69.4 million back in early summer 2014. At that level, it would rep the highest domestic opening for the Golden Globe winning Zegler, whose Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes ranks as the actress best opening at the box office with $44.6 million. And that's bad right there when they're trying to compare it to what it did for saying, oh, this did better than what Rachel Zegler's Hunger Games movie did. It's like, well, yeah. And also that Hunger Games movie, while it did actually have an impressive box office run, it still didn't do fantastic. And in fact, it was the worst performing Hunger Games movie. And I think a lot of it just come down to people really aren't interested in the Hunger Games like they used to. But by all accounts, that movie did okay at the box office, but they spent significantly less. I believe the budget for that one was probably around the $100 million mark. And when it was all said and done, it made a little bit of money. Can't say the same thing about this one. So when you're comparing it to something like Hunger Games, that's bad news. They need to be comparing it to something like what we saw with, what was it? The first live action or the live action Lion King movie when that came out, because those are the numbers they actually need to see in order to break even at the box office. I believe that one was somewhere around the few $100 million mark during its opening weekend. So like I said, 65 is not anywhere close to that. Awareness is solid amongst women over and under 35 in regards to those who are willing to pay to see the movie in theaters. Women under 35 are first, followed by women over 35, and then men under 35 per quorum. Yeah, when they say there's awareness of a movie, all that means is people know that there's this movie and it's coming out. They've heard of this movie. And while I'm not denying any of that, a lot of people have heard of Snow White. There's this live action Snow White. The news isn't really good. You can see the latest trailer that they have for it right here. 42,000 likes, over 1 million dislikes. It has 1.1 million dislikes on this trailer. So, and that's pretty much every clip and every trailer that we've seen for this Snow White movie. It's just terrible. And a lot of this just has to deal with the fact that Rachel Zegler just can't keep her mouth shut pretty much for a movie like this, you need to not only bring in general audiences, but you definitely need the Disney audiences and the people who love Disney stuff. And Rachel Zegler really hasn't been selling it to them. Not only is this movie a deviation from the source material, which is going to alienate a lot of the Disney fans that they would be needing to attract to this movie, but Rachel Zegler even went out of her way to be somewhat antagonistic towards them, making disparaging remarks about the original movie, and that's going to really kind of put it off on a bad foot. And then she's antagonistic towards audiences and other things like that. Pretty much everything that she said in the lead up to this and a lot of the comments that she made have done the effect of basically just making sure people do not want to watch this movie. She has since, I think, hired a better PR firm to represent her, or hired a better publicist. Maybe Disney started getting involved because there's been a number of puff pieces written about her, and she's been making statements, kind of backpedaling on some of her prior remarks. And I think Disney saw the writing on the wall. It's like, okay, this is not looking too good for us, so we need to do something. I think that was partly why they made the decision to delay it a year, because I think they were hoping that by the time the movie came out, that a lot of the heat surrounding her would have died down and then they can kind of move on with it. But I remember even saying about a year ago when that was going on that, yes, it's going to die down in the meantime because no news about Snow White, then people are going to stop talking about it and then the heat will die down surrounding her. But as soon as the promotional aspect of it kicks in, when they're in, like kind of in the lead up to the release of the movie, well, then all this is just going to kind of resurface and people are going to be like, oh yeah, that Rachel Zegler movie, she's a terrible person. I don't want to watch that movie. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So yes, definitely people are aware of this movie and they know what's coming out and they really just don't care. Or if it's actually even worse than they don't care, they actually want to see this movie fail. There's a lot of people out there who want this movie to fail, not only because of Rachel Zegler, but also just for the simple fact that people are growing more and more tired of a lot of these Disney live action remakes, especially when there's something like this where it doesn't pay any respect to the original movie. It's literally just there as a cash grab. But unfortunately, when it comes to Disney right now, it looks like this probably isn't going to be a cash grab. I mean, if this holds true where it is a $65 million opening weekend domestically, let's just say they make as much internationally, so around $130 million during its opening weekend, they're going to try to tout that as some type of huge success. But like I said, this needed to make several $100 million globally during its opening weekend in order to have a chance at being a success. Even if this movie seems to have a weak opening, but it's just fantastic, great word of mouth, and it has legs, it's still unlikely that they can actually break even with an opening like that. And a lot of this is simply because of the fact that Rachel Zegler just didn't know when to shut up. Disney didn't properly train her in the media and how to respond to a lot of the criticism and a lot of questions. So, I mean, this is ultimately the result, but I think Disney should kind of use this as an opportunity to stop just doing these mindless cash grab remakes, because general audiences have gone kind of grown tired of them. And that's even for movies that aren't openly antagonistic towards audiences. We saw that with Mufasa Lion King, even though it did fairly well, it didn't do nearly as well as the previous one. And I think it's because people aren't just going to go watch something Disney related anymore. That there's no novelty of making these live action remakes anymore. So they need to find something else. And evidently this is not it. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think there's a chance that this movie will actually be successful? Or do you think, yeah, with that box office like that, there's no way that this movie's going to make a profit? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.